All right, welcome to the 00 Start Podcast presented by Just Paddles. We are here with three-time guest, Rafael Filippini. I just wanted to say, Rafael, thank you for being not only a double guest, but a triple guest. You're the first one that we've had on 3 times. And every time you come on here, you spit so much knowledge and so much cool stuff that we couldn't be more excited to have you on for a third time.
Well, I'm happy to be here, and they say third time's a charm. So let's get this rollout going, and we got a lot of information. So
yeah, and if the first two weren't good, then I don't know what's good, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say, because the first 2 times you were on here, you brought stuff to the plate that I've never heard of, and so much stuff with your innovation and your R&D that if those were no good, then this is going to be the best podcast of all time, and I can't wait.
I hope so, because for sure this release and what we've done with these products are so far beyond anything that's ever been created that we're super excited about it. I mean, this is a lot of brands, a lot of marketing is next level stuff, and they talk about this is truly a leap ahead of its time. I mean, we did come out with some really innovative things before, but this one really just it's a culmination. Everything is coming together, and the timing, and it's syncing perfectly with what the industry is doing, what the players are wanting, and what we are doing with our R&D and our products. So it's super excited, Ben.
Yeah, and we're here today to talk about the launch of Gearbox's new Pro Series paddles, which I'll let you talk about these things, but just before you do, this is a paddle that, and I'm not just saying this, that several big time reviewers on YouTube have called the best paddle that they've ever played with, and also people from Just Paddles who get to play with so many different paddles. Right? There's ones coming out almost weekly, and they're calling this thing, when they talked to me about this paddle, they said, Ben, you got to try it. Like the second you get it, he literally said, the second you get it, take it to the courts. It's my new go-to. It's the best paddle that I've ever played with. So I'm going to let you take this and go with it. You created a Pro Series. There's a Pro Control and a Pro Power within that Pro Series paddles. What was your goal when you decided to make these new paddles, and what makes them different? What makes them new age, and how is it going to change the game?
Yeah. So the goal was, we've always been, changing technology, pushing the envelope. We came up with the SST, the molded paddles, all carbon fiber. We got rid of all the honeycomb, right? So, and we had most of the components already in place, but what I would say in the past, and since early on, we've been just so focused on innovating and creating new things. We may have ignored, or not ignored, but we didn't hit all the points in terms of, hey, the players are looking for this type of play. They're looking for power, control. I mean, the basic things were there, but we also, the feel and how the ball, the traditional feel has always been the honeycomb, right? The honeycomb feel. And so this time around, man, what we did is, okay, what do players want? And I know it's very general and generic, and everybody, they want power, they want control, they want a large sweet spot, and spin, and they want to be able to dink the ball at will and drop the ball from the back and punch the ball and win every point, right? So that was our starting point, believe it or not. And as we were going through item by items, like, okay, this checks, power, check, control, check, size of sweet spot, massive, check, easy to dink from the back, third shots, just the drop from the back. Hey, this is pretty effortless, right? So check on that. And we just went down the list. And by the time we were done, I was like, guys, what else is in here? Well, spin. Yeah, now the spin on these things, it's crazy. I got some reports back from a lab, and then also from just some influencers like you've said. And so this paddle, and there's 2 models, like you said, right? There's the Pro and the Control. I would say the power and the control, and both are the pros. The power is obviously more focused in for that person that wants to just drive the ball at will or punch it back. That power is there. It's also there in the control, but you certainly have to generate more of that power on your own. Where with the power paddle, it does whatever you want it to do on it. So if you just punch it quick, the ball goes. With the control one, you're going to have to generate more of your body, more rotation, hip rotation to get into it. But the nice thing about the control is that when somebody is driving at you, it neutralizes that power player. So both of those thoughts went into so it's one is the antidote to the other, right? So it kind of, if you have a power player on the other side, it neutralizes that person. Or then we talked about this in the past about wind. If the wind is behind you or in front of you, then you can use one or the other. Now, the very cool thing about the power paddle is that that one, if you just hold the paddle in position, the ball, again, does what you want it to do. I say it's almost like if you're connected with it, it's like, hey, I want to dink this one, and you just hold it in place, the ball goes right over the net. I mean, this is truly, and I could say, I don't know if it's perfect, but at least it's the closest to the claims of the most power, the most control, the most spin, and the biggest sweet spot. I mean, this is as close as we could possibly get at this point today in time, and it's been wonderful. Yeah.
So how does it, without spilling too many of your secrets, because go back to Gearbox's very first series of paddles. I think it was the 7, 8, 9? Is that
the
what
7, 8,
that
9?
was
That's correct.
Gearbox?
Yeah.
So the very first one, you went like outside of the box. You were typical Gearbox, like, I'm not going to create the industry standard. I'm going to try to get out ahead of the industry, which is kind of seems like that's what you do in every time you create a product for Gearbox. You're not catching up to the standard. You're setting it in the future almost. Without spilling too many of your secrets and R&D and everything that might give anybody an advantage or be able to catch up to you, what makes these different? What makes these next level?
Well, the thing we've always talked about our solid span technology and how we can manipulate the carbon fiber, right? You can do it with the fiber angles. You can do it with the fiber type. Everybody talks about T700, and that's like the modulus or the bending moment of the material and its strength. So we've always known how to manipulate these carbon fibers and techniques. The trick really was how do we manipulate it to match the current play styles of today? So it wasn't that we didn't know how to do it in the past. We just were not in sync. For example, our CX14, or let's go back to the 7, 8, and 9. When we came out with those were very fast paddles. And we're talking about 2015, 16, all molded, with the SST core. The game back then was just super soft, right? And the reason I came out with that, because paddles were just breaking left and right. Like, you could literally swing a paddle and the head would go flying down the court, right? So I was solving other issues at that moment and not really focusing on the play and everything else. So it was like, okay, hey, this industry has these issues. I'm going to solve these. And then, which we did. And then we went into it. And then moving forward, I was getting a lot of feedback. Hey, your paddles are too fast. The ball jumps off. I don't have as much feel as I do as a honeycomb. So we went in with the CX14, the E and the H, and put a lot of feel in it. And lo and behold, as I slowed the paddles way down, the game sped up. So we're like this, right? So I was like, oh, darn it, we missed that, and another issue that we had is our cycle, right? So we were releasing paddles just once a year. So we had to wait another year before we intervened, per se, with the release of a new paddle. We're like, well, we've got to let that one ride for a while. So then we had to wait for the year. And then we came out with our Ultimate, which we added a little bit more head weight. And then we also sped it up a little bit. And we kind of caught back up, with what the industry was doing. And in today's game, Then spin came about. All right. So in the middle of our ultimates and actually our 14E, we got the molded texture paddles, right? So then spin came in and that was a big factor. So everybody jumped into the paddles that had a lot of spin. And then most recently, you had this thermoform paddles that were delaminating. Everybody, oh my God, I love the power, but they couldn't control it. But so that, and then they were illegal as well. So what we learned from all that is that people want a lot of spin, they want power, but they want power that they can control. So we're like, okay, now I've got a very clear direction as to what the industry and the players want. Let's go after it and build it. And that's really what the Pro Series paddles are all about. Now, how do we do that is the manipulation of the carbon fiber. The Pro Power has something that's very unique in there. And we actually broke up the core. There's still our solid span core, but we broke it up into smaller sections. So yeah, that's the Pro Paddle or Pro Power Paddle. We have two shapes. We have the Fusion, and then we have the elongated, which is more of our CX14E shape. And so by breaking up the cores the way we did into these miniature cores, we're able to effectively create a trampoline effect that is almost, it's like independent suspension on a vehicle, right? So rather than having a connected axle, each wheel now moves independent. So imagine that you're standing on a trampoline. As you walk along the surface of that trampoline, your body kind of indents only in that area that the trampoline is being walked over. So essentially that's what these Pro paddles are doing. The area where the ball is impacted, that's where the most of the reaction or the energy is being transferred. And rather than, on previous paddles and a lot of the traditional honeycomb paddles, the whole paddle acts as one unit, where this one is more of independent suspension. And that's why we're able to generate as much power as these paddles are doing. Also, there's less torque or very little torque, and that gives you essentially the control. And then you've got this additional movement for just a very easy play for dinking and everything else. And so essentially, by manipulating the core, breaking it down more on the power, and then a little bit less on the control models, that's how we're able to either put more energy back into the ball or control it like we did.
So by doing that, you kind of hit all of the main points, right? That everybody looks for in a paddle is like, I want power. We know that's going to be there. But one of the characteristics I feel like people underappreciate is stability in a paddle. Because I feel like I mishit more balls than I probably hit perfectly in the sweet spot, especially when we get up to the net and we get, kind of firefighting back and forth. I probably miss more balls than I hit in the sweet spot just because it's so fast. Now, if I'm hitting a serve or a ground stroke, I'm probably relatively close to the sweet spot. So by what you've done, though, you've built not only a paddle that has spin, we know that, it has power, we know that, but is it the most stable paddle that you've also created?
Absolutely.
Ever?
And that's right now, a lot of the influencers and people with the reviews, they talk about the rotational, which is on the longer axis here. So there's an SI or a rotational moment that they're measuring now. Each one varies, but you have the traditional swing weight that's this way, but now they're doing this. And that's what that stability is. So if you don't have such a rigid part, when you actually hit the ball here, it won't turn. It'll actually absorb and the ball stays straight. So the incoming angle and outgoing angle remains more true. And that's really the goal.
Yeah. I think that, to me, is groundbreaking because I think we can all agree that there's a lot of paddles that are powerful. There's a lot of paddles that are spin friendly. But like I mentioned before, if you have a paddle that's stable and you have those other characteristics, that is a truly game-changing paddle. Because I think I miss most of my shots by mishitting the ball and it doesn't go where it's supposed to go or it doesn't make it over the net. With enhancing the stability seemingly a lot, I think that's where people are going to really feel their game has improved like instantly with these paddles.
I honestly, Ben, I was doing a lot of testing, and I went to a couple of tournaments and played, and I had the the prototype for a couple of months, and I went in there with our Ultimate, which is a phenomenal paddle too. But while playing in the tournament, I'm playing my opponent. I was like, God, I wish I had that prototype in my hand right now. It's rather than focusing on the match. It was like, this game would have been so much easier, and it really is, because you can shape the ball, you can add speed when you need it, and that's all I was thinking. I was like, boy, and I actually thought of maybe I shouldn't play a tournament until they're certified and we're ready to go, right? Because now I'm just playing head games with myself out there, during the match, and you're like, wow, but really that is the effect that paddle has, and honestly, when people do go out and hit it and they try it sticks with them. They're like, oh man, I got to have that paddle, because if you don't, you're really going to be at a disadvantage. Technology wise, you're giving something up. Now a pro, I understand they're getting paid, dollars, or you do that. But if you're just going out there for fun, man, you better like really give this paddle an opportunity to, be part of your arsenal out there. So
it's funny you say that, because that's probably a sales pitch that's used all the time, is like, this literally will make your game better, right? We had one of our paddle experts talk to me when he talked to me about it. Obviously, we were speaking freely because we were just talking to each other. He said, I am legitimately a better player. He goes, I don't know what it is, because he hadn't heard the sales pitch on it. He just went and took it. He goes, I don't know what it is, but I am legitimately a better player with this paddle in my hand, which he's never told me before. So it was powerful words coming from someone who's played with a lot of paddles.
I know it. And I'm here, Ben. I'm telling you, as one, the guy who designed it, but also as a player, and I'm not, and yeah, we have a company and we want to sell it, but this is honestly what I feel. And I mean, I just sort of like, even compared to our Ultimate, I was like, God, I wish I had that paddle in my hand at this moment, because I felt it made me a better player. And perhaps of where I am in my game too. But we've taken it to recreational play at 2.5, 3.0, 3.5. Every single person so far, it's been on point. It's like, wow, this paddle is so much easier to use. And whether it's the control or the power, it just depends on what they like in terms of feel. So in other really cool technologies, and we talked about spin. The reason I brought this paddle, I don't know if you can see, but this is the woven carbon fiber 3K. But if I turn it a little, you see how now this changes. So we actually have molded and textured the carbon fiber in a molded paddle. Well, and that is a big thing. And that's how we're able to provide that, a little bit more spin. It comes from the core, but now we have that texture to help if somebody's driving the ball at you, you can, and you're not really, the core is not coming into effect, let's say, for the spin. Now the surface, we're able to texture it, and that surface is not going to wear out. That's the resin that's cured and it's textured. So it's the peel ply. And that was a feat in itself to get that into the process while we're molding the paddle. So, this paddle goes into a mold. We have to line it up, and, you're kind of crossing your fingers that everything's going to work, but we're not, because we actually have jigs and everything that we line up. But honestly, the first times we were trying it was like, wow, we could actually do this. And that in itself is, on the manufacturing and engineering side, to be able to do it thousands and thousands of times over, that's really, that's an impressive feat. Yeah.
Well, and that is one of there's another huge aspect to it, is there's a lot of paddles that are super gritty, and you buy them and come out of the box, you go play with them, and then you can spin the ball like crazy. But then that grit wears off and it turns into almost completely different paddle. So if you can get that grit on the face that doesn't wear off, and it's just part of the properties of the paddle that's used, and it's not kind of something almost just added on for a limited time, that's a game-changing paddle that will just continue the same way when you bought it.
Yeah, and the reason it's not going to wear out as quickly, I mean, if you can picture a honeycomb paddle, when the ball hits the surface, the ball's round, it's the contact point's very small, right? So it's contact point against the surface and the ball. So that contact point is hitting and you're spinning it, so it's wearing out in that spot all the time. Because the paddle is rigid and the ball, it kind of flexes when it goes in. But the difference with this paddle is that our paddle face doesn't stay rigid. It goes in. When the ball hits, it actually cups a lot and it bends back, and then it kind of throws it back out. So if you look at the circle, and when you hit a ball and there's a circle usually imprinted on, well, notice the size of the circle on these paddles. It's going to be larger because you have more surface to surface. The paddle is almost wrapping around the ball more so, and it's grabbing more. So there's going to be less impact in the smaller area. The load is spread out over a larger area. And that, again, helps with the control and spin and bite. So, and that's what's really happening too with these paddles.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, and I'm not, physics was never my forte. It's not ever going to be. I've given up in that category. That's why I'm glad you're here. But more ball on the paddle, is that not going to enhance your control too?
Yes, it will. Yeah, the dwell time, the amount of time the ball stays on the paddle, how it grabs, it bites. Yeah, and then you can manipulate a little bit more through your stroke too. Maybe change direction last second. Somebody tends to lean one way, and then you just that little split second makes a big difference. Maybe you get that pop up. So
it sure does. Yeah, it sure does. This is a sport where inches and milliseconds matter. So if you have milliseconds more on the paddle face, that's a big difference. Can we talk about this edge guard? Because it seems like, this is as sleek as it can. It looks like an edgeless paddle, but this edge guard is as sleek as I've ever seen, beyond that I've ever seen before. How did you manage to make this happen?
Yeah, it's really not an edge guard. That's just paint, and that's why I brought this. This is a raw paddle coming out, and look at our handle. There's something something else that's very unique. Notice the bottom. Before, remember, we had the plastic end cap, and we were cutting it, and we were blowing the air inside. Well, we're pressurizing these, and now this is an entirely sealed system. So the handle is molded, the whole paddle is molded with the texture. And then so now the handle is also sealed. So this is also carbon fiber. The way we shape the paddle, it's all carbon fiber throughout. And just to answer your question, I'm going to show here. So this is the 3K fiber. So there's no cover on it. What we did is we actually used, to protect the textured surface, we have a gel product that we coat the paddle with, and then we come through and spray the edges and leave it clean, because what we're doing is we want to show off that the texture. I have a finished one here. So we want to show you the transition from the texture to the edge of the frame. If you're hitting balls here on the edge of the frame, good for you. Hopefully it goes over the frame, but we want to focus all the spin and everything right around the face of the paddle. So yeah, this is just a very clean transition point that we created between the face and the edge. So it's not really an edge guard. Yeah.
It looks super clean, like you said, and you can certainly, maybe on camera it's not as visible, but when you hold it in your hand, it's very visible and super clean.
Yeah, no, this is the paddle, the gold, and we have the silver with these, and honestly, this is it's a sexy paddle, I think you can say, right?
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's super sleek, and it looks high end. There's a lot of really nice high-end features that have gone into building this product.
So talk about the one-piece construction then, because having it be 100% carbon fiber, it's not, obviously, again, correct me if I'm wrong physics here, but if you put two pieces together, it's going to be a little weaker, right? So if is this thing the most durable paddle you've made? I know the CX14s were the same, right? They were
Yes.
one piece carbon fiber construction, but the durability for Gearbox paddles has always been at the top of the charts, kind of leading the way. Is this going to be the same? Because as prices of paddles kind of creep up, and now we're talking some paddles are up over $300. I don't want, like you said earlier, I don't want to swing my paddle on a big overhead and have the face of the paddle go sailing into the woods. I want to sail my paddle into the woods as a one-piece construction after I've lost.
Right. That's right.
I don't want it to break,
right? Not
on purpose. That's right.
Yeah. So, no, for sure. Yes, the durability factor. It's got the whole Gearbox durability built in. And the thing is, man, carbon fiber. So these paddles actually are made up of about 200 different small plies, and they're all laid together and interlaid, and we create the core. So even the core is carbon fiber. These tubes, are long rib structures. But now, like I said, we've sectioned off, these small miniature cores. So now we have cores and miniature cores. Here I've got a little drawing here that we can. So that's sort of what the miniature cores are, what it's about on the inside, and all the different plies and everything that go on. So the thing with carbon fiber is like when you overlap a tenth of an inch, and then you bond it, that becomes like a single ply, almost like if you were to weld two pieces of metal together and then the bond. Usually the bond of the weld is stronger than the piece of metal itself because there's so much. Well, in carbon fiber, when you overlay a tenth of an inch, that becomes like a single sheet. It no longer, it's not going to shear off or break at that point. So even though we're taking 200 plies or more, and then we put them in the mold and kind of just cure the entire thing, that's why it becomes one piece. And kind of going back into the honeycomb paddles, well, the bond between plastic and carbon fiber is not the same because now you've got those are dissimilar materials, right? So you're bonding a plastic to a carbon fiber. The plastic properties are just so weak and heavy, and I mean it doesn't even belong in a high-end carbon fiber paddle, so. Or a high-end performance paddle, to be honest. Plastic is it's plastic, right? I mean, we make straws out of it, bottles and things like that. It has its purpose, but I don't believe, not in a high-end paddle, especially now. You're going to see the difference, and really what we've been working toward, and I want to show the pickleball world that carbon fiber is really the way to build paddles, and anything that has a honeycomb, it does have its place, and we are actually coming out with a line. It's called our G2 line, and that is a molded paddle with a honeycomb core, but that's going to be $130 to $140, and that's kind of where those prices maybe belong today, right? And but on the high end, yeah, you better have, because you're going to get all that performance. Once it's done right with carbon fiber, you're going to get just tremendous performance. Another point we don't really talk about is, I don't know if you've noticed when you played, but how quiet this paddle is. So we've also addressed the feel and quiet and the sound of it. So when you hit it, you get almost zero feedback. It's so plush and like it's super like soft in your hand. You don't feel that vibration and then the noise that it's actually a very quiet paddle. So you're going to be kind of stealthy out there. Your opponent's not going to know. It's like, man, did he just hit that ball, really hard, or did he mishit it? Like, what's going on? But he's going to know when that ball gets to their chest.
I mishit it, Rafael.
You mishit it. All right. Yeah. But it's not going to matter because then the ball's still going to get to your opponent's chest over the net. So, yeah, I mean, it is a tremendous product. And the more time you spend on it, I know you just got, the paddles last night. You didn't maybe get a lot of time with it, but the more time you spend with it, you're going to be blown away on the performance overall. And one thing I've been telling all of our guys and gals, get out there and just experiment. Like, don't hold back, right? Before, we're held back by technology. Right now, let's say you've been driving a 200 horsepower car, with I'm handing you a 2,000 horsepower car. Go out there and test your comfort limits, wherever you're comfortable with it.
That was a terrible analogy.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man. All right.
Go 600 miles an hour.
Why not? Go try it. You may like it. I mean, with safety in mind, of course.
Though I like that though. I mean, that's questionable. But what I like about that though is you're right. Is like, I think a lot of times we buy paddles because I'm a power player, so I'm going to buy a power paddle. It's like, well, go try this paddle and try to do something else with it. Try to be like a spin guy, and this is gonna enhance every part of your game. And maybe you find another part of your game that's really strong, and you can just build your game from there.
Well, I have a player, and one of our sponsor players, he's older, and he actually, I'll make it brief, but he said, I just made him 10 years younger in terms of being a player. He had given up on being an aggressive attacker. He said that anytime, while he was playing, if he got into the hands battles, he was losing 8 out of 10. So he's like, you know what, I'm giving up on the hands battles. And he's a player out there. And so he said, well, I'm not going to get in the hands battle. I'm going to just wait out and continue dinking, wait for the opportunities. With this new paddle, he's like, oh my God, I'm 10 years younger again. I could be aggressive. So it's changed his mentality. It's changed his mindset. And he's super motivated when he's going out there because it's bringing just new opportunities for his game. And that's what I'm saying. Go out there and really explore. If you were a tennis player and you had, very low angle on your stroke, go back to that because this paddle is going to accommodate that stroke. And in pickleball, we got used to hitting more flat because you're not going to really impart that much spin. This one, let's see how far you can really come through and spin the ball. And you'll be surprised. You can aim probably a foot higher. And, I've been, like me personally, I've have this shot now that I kind of aim at the head and most people just kind of get out of the way and look back, wait for the ball to go out. And all of a sudden it's like a foot in. They're like, well, how did that happen?
Never seen that before.
Now, yeah. So now they're like, man, do I let that go or do I have to attack it? So now I've got, you just start building new shots into your game. And that's what becomes fun. Now you say, okay, the equipment is not holding me back. What can I do? Right.
That's what I was going to say too, is like, that is so much fun because very rarely have we come across a paddle that has truly changed our game. Right? We try new paddles and we like them and maybe it gave me a little boost here, but it took away in this category over here. But to kind of have a paddle that's built and designed to enhance every aspect of your game and you can go out and actually see it done, that's exciting. Yep. And literally will make you want to get to the court every single day to go hit it.
Right. And that, in these paddles right now, Ben, are all built at 8 ounces and a little bit head heavy, like a 1/4 inch head heavy, because we wanted to put a little bit of mass in. So where I'm going with this is at 8 ounces, it's still a very neutral paddle in terms of weight and balance. So now you've got all the experimentation in addition to your shots, customization with, weight and weight placement, the lead tape around the perimeter. It has a massive sweet spot. You want to enhance it and stabilize the paddle more. Go ahead and add more weight around the perimeter toward the head if you want more power, toward the bottom if you want more stability. So everything that you do with your paddles today, you can enhance it even more so with and where that goes. I mean, it's endless right now. So that's why I'm super excited about this paddle, and I think truly this is a game changer, right? I mean, we all say it. I see it all the time, but honestly, this is just something that's way beyond it, and just super excited about it.
We are too. And last thing before I let you go, because I know you want to go to your computer and just watch the sales of these paddles just roll in for the rest of the day. But walk us through who should use each of the paddles. So you have two paddles, you have the Pro Power, the Pro Control, and two shapes within those two paddles. If you're this certain player, is there a paddle that they should gear toward?
Yeah, I would say go with the tradition, right? So tennis players, singles, they like to drive the ball and hit hard. Shape-wise, go for the elongated because they're going to have a longer stroke. They probably play singles and a little bit more reach. And the power is there, but also the control. So that's a very versatile. And that is also for a player who can change their grip. And what I mean by that is if you can keep it firm, if you want to really power the ball, or soften your hands to have that real soft touch, right? So although the paddle is doing a lot of that for you, if you additionally, change your grip and things like that, you're going to have additional benefits. And obviously the power is going to give you more range, right? Where the control is more focused. So there, whether you grip it tight or you grip it loose, it's still going to perform in a more narrow range, and it's going to give you that control that you're looking for. So that definitely more control-oriented player. And again, with the control, if you want to drive the ball, you're going to have to generate that power yourself.
Well, needless to say, there's a paddle for every player with the power, the control, the two different shapes in it, whether you like the more standard shape or the elongated, whether you like power control, you have a paddle with the new Pro Series. We are beyond excited about it. I know you are. I can't wait to get this thing on the court. I'm super pumped to get it out there and actually be able to smack it around and see if it fills the gaps, the massive holes in my game. But we're excited. Congratulations on the launch. These paddles are available now. So go out and get one, and you definitely will not be disappointed.
No, yeah, I think that, again, we're very excited about it, and definitely you have to get out on the court and try one. If you don't, you're doing yourself a disservice.
I love to hear it. Raphael, as always, it's an absolute pleasure. We love to hear all your knowledge about the not only the sport of pickleball, but about all the engineering that goes into your paddles. Congratulations on the launch, and we cannot wait to see how these paddles do.
Well, I can't either, and I hope everyone gets a new one because I think this is going to change the game. So we're excited about it. Thanks,
Awesome.
Ben.
And we will talk soon. Thanks, Raphael.